Jesus Christ. Let's take a look at what's going on here, because as you can see, this EQ is kind of crazy, right? Here's it without it. Here's what happens when we really boost the crap out of the low end into the amp, and that's it. This OTT here is just, you know, leveling it out, bringing up the highs. It's not doing much. I've been totally obsessed with this sound design technique. It was about a few months ago where I was messing with snares and putting them through all kinds of crazy distortion, and I started just then using amp. Amp is Ableton's emulation of a guitar amp. When I put it on the snare, I immediately heard how the distortion morphed over time. And that was because snares have a lot of low end at the hit at the beginning. And then, especially if you have like an old school dubstep snare, there's a lot of air that comes after. So they kind of sound like this. This is just the dubstep snare. Right? And so when I passed it through amp and an EQ, and really the magic sauce was having a lot of low end going into the amp, is when I heard this. Super nasty, glitchy, almost a bass sound. Is just really aggressive. And as I dove into those sounds more and I tried different snares, I saw how unique each snare's reaction was to this combo. So for example, and you could throw like any snare in here. Let's literally just throw a new one. Ooh, that's a good one. Jesus Christ. And let's play around with this. Let's see what happens. So as you can see, where you set these parameters drastically changes things. Before we're going to dive into this, just know that this works best with snares that have a longer tail, but you shouldn't only go for those. You really want to try all kinds of different samples. And I tried this effect with literally everything else, with trash, with decapitator, saturator, all kinds of different distortions. For whatever reason, Ableton's amp is undefeated. I like to set it to heavy, and you can mess around with the presence and the gain if you want. Those impact how drastic the effect is, but they don't impact the volume at the end. That's what this knob is for. That's for the volume. And also don't forget to click here from mono to dual. And all that does is make it a stereo signal instead of a mono signal. I'd say the main purpose, aside from just making really cool, dirty sounds, the main purpose of this technique is to have sounds that morph over time. And I feel like it's a realm of sound design that we haven't dove into too much. I think that's really why my last track, Monkey Mind, stood out so much, is because a lot of the sounds morph into the next thing that you hear. So this is one of those ways to do that. So this video, we're going to go from simple to complex. Every single step is going to have a little extra sauce and little techniques that I've just been obsessed with. You know, it's kind of like a cool, fun sound design things of the month. And of course, you should not take my advice if you haven't heard my music. So go check out my music. And this is a rule that applies to really all YouTubers you're listening to. Don't take mixing advice, for example, from people that make house if you're making dubstep, and take things with a grain of salt. You know, it could be any topic. If you don't like someone's music, then you should consider that whenever they're giving you any kind of advice that's music related. So go check out Monkey Mind or Lit Roosta. Those are songs that very much represent who I am as an artist. And yeah. So the sauce here comes from how much low end you feed into the amp plugin. Now, if we take this snare, all I did was stretch it out. When we stretched it out, I kept it on beats mode because that essentially kind of repeats these small grains and makes the snare become this very glitchy sound. Here's what it sounds like without the effects. Already pretty cool. But when we add amp with no EQ, here's what it sounds like. Pretty cool. But here's what happens when you boost the low end. Nice. Then you just add a kick on it. Dude, that's such a bad sound. One way to bump this up to the next level is, it's a trick that I like to call the Omega EQ. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take one EQ, which is this one, and we're going to map all of these to macros. After you do that, you're going to duplicate this EQ, and what it's going to do is it's going to make any of your movements really drastic. So if you were to boost something by 2 decibels, like the low end, and you had 5 EQs, then you're really boosting it by 10 decibels. It's like a exponential EQ. And so this is really powerful when you're trying to, you know, mess with this kind of technique where we're boosting or cutting stuff into some kind of distortion. So here, for example, we have which frequency. Here I have the type, and this impacts all of them, by the way. They're all linked together. And this is the scale. Another very important button that you're going to want to have as a macro is the scale here. This scale button is going to help you get that sweet spot. It's just another way to, you know, be very detailed with the motion that you do. So let's play this over and over, and let's just mess around with it and try to find a sweet spot. I've noticed that sometimes just 2 to 3 EQs is enough. You know, like 4 or 5 is already quite a lot. So let's reduce 1 or 2 and see how that helps. And another cool thing about this technique of boosting the low end into an amp or any really fat distortion audio effect is that it takes the sound and makes it 2 different sounds. Here's a good example. You know, and that helps a lot, you know, as far as fills in between your really cool wubs, or as just an impact hit to start your bass phrase in your call and response. It's a cool sound design technique to have in your pocket. Here I had this one. Let's see what the other one's doing. Oh, that's gonna be weird. What the fuck? All right. Let's see here. Let's see what we can do with that. If you don't know what shaper is, it's basically the little LFO thing in Serum, but in Ableton. So you can map it to any macro or anything. Something that I wanted to demonstrate here is that when you create a peak, especially if you're using this Omega EQ technique, you'll have the sound linger as kind of like a feedbacking effect or like some weird delay. There's a nerd that could explain it in the comments. That'd be great. But essentially, the sound would linger even though your sample's done. And here's a good example. And the longer that can happen, the cooler artifacts that could occur. So let's really bump it up. So let's make that resonance really peaky and then see how long it's going to last and what it'll sound like as it decays and goes away. Maybe add a few more EQs. Not bad. Let's move it a little bit, see what it sounds like then. pretty cool, you know? So that's just something else you could mess with. Notice that this time I have 2 amps that are feeding into each other. Moving on to the next one. So first we've got passing or boosting low end into an amp, but that's only scratching the surface of this audio effect. You can take some really simple wavetables and just put an amp after, and they can become some of the fattest basses out there. And here are some good examples. So here we have this wavetable. The only thing that's happening is it's playing this wavetable. That's it. There's no other effects aside from amp, and this unison here is set to classic, 3 voices, and 2% of that amount. So we'll have a little bit of width. But here's what it sounds like without any amp. Cool sound, you know, nothing too crazy. Here's with amp. So fat. And it's actually quite mono compatible. Here it is in mono. Of course, you know, it's not like total mono compatibility. Most of the time it kind of passes the vibe check. It's for you to decide, you know, if it does or if it doesn't. And if you don't like this unison setting, then you can just remove it. Here is another example of a nice wavetable that sounds absolutely bonkers with amp. So here's without amp. Super weak sound. If you look at the EQ here, you'll see that we've got a sub frequency, we've got a main harmonic, and then we got tons of high-end little sounds up here, sine waves. That's kind of all the ingredients you need for a really nice cooker bass. So now we're gonna add some amp. Super fat. And I'm gonna play with how much of these frequencies we're gonna want in there, because how much sub you have, how much of this main upper harmonic, and then the noise really decides the texture of this overall sound. Wild. Seems like 0 to -6 decibels in the sub is kind of the sweet spot. So you could automate that to make it sound really cool in your drop. Kind of a short video this week, but I encourage you to add amp instead of reaching for saturator or all those really big name plugins. Just put amp on there, have an EQ right before, adjust the low end to your liking, mess with that. Create either tons of impact sounds that you could use, or just put it on some wavetables and have these sustains. Hopefully this video has inspired you to go mess with this kind of stuff, make some cool sounds. If you want to thank me, it's free and simple. You just go listen to my music, tell people about my tracks, especially Monkey Mind. And yeah, if you guys like this video a ton, I'll make more videos like this. If not, I'm going to go back to talking head videos and just whining about stuff. So it's really whatever you want to hear. But yeah, vote with your like, and I will see you next time on Dragon Ball Z.